Come along with me as I chase elk through the timber in the mountains of western Montana. I have a lot of exciting hunts planned this fall, and I'm thrilled to share the story of this first hunt. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this and follow me over on Instagram at Readyman Show. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the hunt.
Opening morning, Montana archery season. It's actually shooting light right now, about the last 2 minutes, and I just drove up into this, on the edge of this meadow where I'm going in to hunt today, and I had about 15 elk right on the road, right as I pulled in here. A bunch of cows and calves and at least one bull. I could see the bull. I couldn't make those horns. It was still dark. But I heard him bugle as soon as they got into the timber here, so I let him kind of get into the timber. Waited a couple minutes and I got all my stuff ready, and now I'm heading up the trail. I'm gonna ease up into the timber where they went. There's a good chance they probably didn't go far, but this is where I had planned on this morning anyway, so let's hope they went up in here and just settled down for a second. I'm gonna get up in the timber a little ways and just listen. See if I can hear them talking anymore. They were talking as they went into the timber, so just spotted some elk. I can see at least 4. I think they're cows. 775 yards away. I'm crossing a big locked out area, and then I've got some old stand timber between me and the elk. They're up on the hillside in a locked out area. I can see on the other side of that timber, there's a clearing, and there's 4 of them up there just feeding right now, so I need to get over into this timber. There's an old trail in this timber that I'm going to jump on and just scoot my way up there, and that should put me within, I'd say, 100 yards of them or so, and then hopefully they'll make their way back down towards me as the sun comes up a little more. So I'm going to try and scoot across this without making too much noise and get into this timber. So I'm still hunkered down here on the trail. My rangefinder is saying they're still about 350 yards away. They look closer than that, so I'm not sure if I'm getting a reflection on something else. But that could be 350. She was the biggest cow. The closest one was on high alert for the last probably 5-10 minutes, just staring right down at me. But she can't see me. I'm in the trees. But she just turned around and started grazing again, kind of relaxed. So I'm gonna just watch them and see what they're gonna do. See if they're gonna end up moving up, or if they're gonna move back down into this timber below me. As the sun comes up, the sun's shining right on them now. So, but it's absolutely dead quiet out here. There's a lot of rocks on this road, so I can't walk very fast. So we'll see if they really close. I think they're coming uphill. So I'm knocking arrow and they come out on this trail right here. They're not very far. I can hear them. There's a few of them. They're moving too. I can hear them walking in there. Sitting here. Find a spot where I can have a good view, sit in the shade, and hopefully the elk will come in here. There's tracks all over the place in here, so they've still been hitting it quite a bit. I haven't had my camera up for 2 weeks now. I pulled it 2 weeks ago.
This wallow was where I had my game camera set for about a month and a half. I'd pulled it a couple weeks before the season, and the camera showed the elk had been hitting this meadow almost every day. There were as many as 15 elk in one picture, including a couple bulls, so as hot as the weather was forecasted to be, my strategy was to sit on this wallow for most of the day.
Well, I am sitting on the edge of this wallow. It's about 11:20 a.m. right now, and I've been here for probably almost 30 minutes. So I'm just gonna make myself a little bed on the edge of this wallow, and I was gonna take a little bit of a nap. And right before I fell asleep, I've been laying here for about 10 minutes, and I heard 2 bugles uphill from me. I don't know how far. Probably not too far, because this is pretty dense timber. So for me to be able to hear the bugle, they're probably not that far, but the wind is blowing right that way, so I'm not gonna try to get down. I haven't heard them since. That was probably 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago when I heard that. So I'm just gonna hang out here for a while. It's nice and cool in the shade, just relaxing, listening. Well, it hasn't been a totally unproductive day. Just heading down this trail back towards where I was going to sit for the evening. That's 2 grouse. Got the first one about 80 yards up this trail, and I came down. I stopped at this spring to breast out this bird, and right above the spring there was this other rough grouse. So I'm going to get them both cleaned up here, stick them in a Ziploc. So I just got a couple of grouse killed here and breasted them out, and it's really hot, and I've got still another 3 hours of hunting before I'm back to the truck. I have a little bit of have an ice pack that's probably a little bit cool, but I wanted to get the meat cooled down, and I'm right here at a spring, so I just created a little puddle here at the top of this spring runoff and breasted those birds out, put them in Ziplocs by themselves. Just put them in here. This water is just ice cold, so it's going to cool those breasts down really, really good. It'll make me feel better about putting them in a bag, and I think they'll be fine for the rest of the night. Usually when I shoot grouse up here, if it's, you know, in the 50s or even the low 60s, I don't worry about them too much. I'll throw them in a plastic bag. I won't even breast them out. I'll just leave them with the guts in and everything, and either find a shady spot that I'm going to pick them up on the way back to my truck, or throw them in my bag and carry them around. They're pretty good. They actually age really well with the skin on and the guts in and everything, as long as you don't gut shoot them or blow a big hole in the breast or anything like that. So with these ones, I hit both of them a little bit on the breast on one side. So, and it's hot out, so I just decided to go ahead and get them cleaned up and let it cool down. I'll let them cool down here for about 5 more minutes or something, and then I'll stick them in my bag and keep going. I've got about another, I suppose, 3/4 of a mile or so to get back to where my wallow is and where I'm going to sit for the night and start listening to see if I can hear any elk talking this afternoon. So, well, I just got my 3rd grouse of the day. I'm sitting here at the wallow. Had a broadhead arrow knocked, waiting. I walked over here a little ways to take a leak, and sure enough, a grouse was coming into water, so came back here, grabbed my bow. I'm sitting here for probably another 30 minutes, and then I'm gonna start working my way through the timber. If I don't see anything, most of the elk that I had on my game camera that came in, they would come in by 7 o'clock in the evenings. So if they're not in here by 7, I don't know if they're gonna come in tonight. And there's a lot of timber and a lot of open meadows to kind of hunt here for evening. So I'll either do that, or I'll work my way back up into the opening where I was on those 5 cows this morning, making that stalk before I seen that spike, and maybe those cows will come back out in that open locked out area. Give me a chance for a stalk there. So anyway, mosquitoes are starting to come out now, biting me a little bit, but I had to put on my face mask and gloves for a little bit. Kept biting my hands. So anyway, pretty slow night, but fun day of sitting anyway. Birds and bugling, got into some elk, got some grouse, so not a bad first day of Montana archery hunt. So I just came out. I'm back on the road where I was at this morning, where I spotted those cows and was trying to make a stalk. And sure enough, they came right back out there in the exact same spot. But I didn't see them until I was about 100 yards down this road. And as soon as they came out, they were on high alert. They were looking down this road, so they must have heard me walking down the road on this gravel. They're still standing up there, but they're looking around. I can see them between these trees right here. I've seen one cow still standing out there. She just came out. I've seen 2 cows and a calf, and then this was another cow. So 4 of them have come out so far, but they're really, really skittish and high alert. I gave them a couple cow calls. Some of them stepped back in the timber. I can still see them in there, but I don't think I'm going to try and make a stalk on them. They're too wary, and it's so dead quiet. And any attempt to get up this hill through all this broken branches and stuff that's been logged out, it's going to be so noisy that it's not going to happen. Quite foggy this morning. It's a little after 8 o'clock. It's really quiet this morning. It was raining, sprinkling really lightly for a little bit. But now this fog rolled in, and I'm going to use it as an opportunity to cross this big clearing without being seen. I heard one bugle this morning from the truck about a half hour before sunrise, and that was it. Nothing else, no other bugles since. 50 yards, but I had no shot, and the wind was blowing, and it was starting to swirl. So I was just trying to get in close. I got into about 40 yards, and was just starting to draw back. I still didn't have a good shot, but she looked my way, and I knew she was going to stand up, and I drew. And as soon as she stood up, she took off. But I think it was her calf. It was about 60 yards away, and he stood up in another spot and was just standing there. I almost took a shot, but it was really, really tight through the timber. So I didn't shoot, but it's exciting anyway. I had a feeling they were in here somewhere. So we're just going to try and stay quiet. I think there's probably some more elk in here. Second grouse of the day. Oh, there's another one right there. Gotta grab my arrow. Oh, shoot. My arrow's a little jacked up. Let's see if we can get another one here. Let's see where this one. Well, it's my second day out elk hunting this year. It is still first week of the season. Season opened last weekend, and we got some really good weather. It's nice and cool today. I don't think it's got above 50. I think it was 43 when I parked the truck and took off walking this morning. I heard one bugle about 30 minutes before daylight. And that was it. Everything's been quiet. And I've just been trying a little bit of everything, covered quite a bit of country today already, and just been walking through the timber. I had one encounter with a cow and a calf. Had the cow 50 yards, but didn't have a great shot, so I was trying to get positioned where I could actually get a shot if she stood up. And right then the wind swirled, and she winded me, and I drew back as soon as she stood up, but as soon as she stood up, she took off. And then the calf, which was a really good sized calf, actually was 60 yards away, and I almost could get a shot, but it was just a little too tight through the timber, so I didn't chance it and let him go. But a lot of elk sign where I'm at, a lot of thick, heavy timber, and I've just been working my way through real slow because everything's wet and everything's really quiet. So it's a pretty good day to just kind of still hunt through the timber, try to find some bedded elk.
I hunted the timber the rest of that day. I'd bumped a couple bedded cows, but didn't have a chance to draw on anything. And then just before dark, I heard a bugle, so I hustled to the edge of the timber and saw a bull about 650 yards away in a clearing. He seemed to be looking for cows, so I gave him a couple mouth calls to see if I could get him moving my way, but he wasn't interested and started moving in the other direction. I was losing light fast, so I didn't make an attempt to go after him. I watched him until dark, made a plan to come back the following evening.
So it's almost 6 o'clock in the evening, and hopefully that'll be soon, or die down completely. So it's a pretty steady wind right now, but really, really big bull I seen go up in here last night. I'm pretty excited to get in. Hopefully it'll come out.
Well, unfortunately, the wind did not cooperate that night. It just kept getting windier as a storm was blowing in, but I sat over this clear cut until it was pitch dark, then headed out. We had a few days of rainy, windy weather, and it was another week before I was able to get back out.
just sitting down over here, just had some breakfast right behind me. And I was sitting in this area, a lot of good elk sign, there's a couple of rubs. And I knew I jumped some cows here last week when I was hunting up here. So I knew this was one of their bedding areas, so I just sat here. I've been sitting here for probably 45 minutes, almost to an hour. Just finished breakfast and I was literally just about to put my backpack on and head down to an open spring below me where I just heard a bugle a little bit ago. And just as I step up to get my back on, this cow comes walking through the timber, and I dropped to my knees and got an arrow knocked, or had an arrow knocked, and she just stood and stood and stood for minutes, and finally she came walking. She was going to walk through a window that was 20 yards. She stopped right before I drew as her head was behind the bushes, and she never stepped out. I was holding my draw for I don't know how long, and then she stepped back and I had an open window at 30 yards, and as soon as she walked through that window I shot, and I'm pretty sure my arrow bounced off a tree. I heard it. I'm gonna go see if I can find that one. I thought she was gone. She ran maybe 20 yards and stopped, and then she came back up. She was bound and determined that she was going to get across this hillside. So I've been standing here for I don't know how long, maybe 10 minutes, watching her up at 50 yards from me. No shot, because it's really thick. But I had an open window at 30 right here, so I've been waiting for her to come through. Well, she started to come through, but she was farther up. She was right around 50 is what I guessed her at. And as soon as she walked through a window there, I loosed my arrow, so it sounded like a hit, but I'm not sure. It's so noisy up there, and as soon as she ran, it was a lot of branches breaking, but I watched her run through this timber here. I couldn't see her. Couldn't see if the arrow was in her or not, but I'm going to give it a couple minutes. I'm going to walk up and see if I can find this other arrow, and then I'll walk up, kind of find my flight path here and see if I can't find that other arrow, and maybe, hopefully, a little blood. It sounded like a hit, but it could have hit a branch or something, or a tree behind her. I don't know, but pretty exciting nonetheless. So I'll go check it out. This is crazy. I gotta show you this. So I just walked up here to where I'd shot to look for my arrow. I found the arrow shaft broken right up here. That's right where that cow was standing. This was the window I was shooting through. It was right through here. And somewhere I must have hit a branch back here somewhere. When I shot, it must have deflected my arrow and got my arrow sideways, because my broadhead stuck right here in this tree, sideways, perfectly stuck in the tree, which is wild, and it just obviously just shattered the shaft off. I don't know where the rest of the shaft, the fletching is. It's got to be around here somewhere, but that is absolutely crazy. Yeah, I thought I had a clear open window right here. My bag is right down there, and I must have just deflected off of one of these little branches or something through this window. Got my arrow sideways. Anyway, I've never seen anything like that before. That is absolutely crazy. So anyway, I'm gonna look for the rest of my arrow here, and then I'm gonna go up and see if I can find that other arrow. Well, I found my arrow right here, which I definitely hit her because I shot. She was about 20 yards back that way where I shot, and the arrow broke off right here. So it looks like it had, decent penetration. Yeah, pretty good penetration. It broke off. It's hard to kind of tell what kind of blood we're looking at here. It's not super pink or anything, so I'm not sure if it's in the lungs I see an elk. I think she's piled up right there. I'm gonna knock an arrow just in case. I think she's done. There she is. Hit her a lot farther forward than I thought. But got her in the lungs eventually. Well, finally made it happen this morning. It's mid-September right now. It's been warm, but then we had some rain the last couple of days, and like a lot of rain. But then today's supposed to warm up again for a couple of days, I think up in the high 60s. But yeah, they just have not been bugling much this year. Hard to pinpoint. The few little bugles that I did hear, I heard a couple this morning, but they're really faint. And I didn't know which way the direction to go. So I've just been slowly walking through the timber, just still hunting as much as I can. And it's about my third day of doing that. I know there's elk in here. There's sign all over. In this spot here where I shot this cow, I had actually jumped a couple of cows last week the same time in that same spot. I had it marked on my map. So I was kind of working my way towards this morning. Got into some fresh sign. I could smell elk. And I got to that spot, or really close to it, where there was some good rubs on the trees and everything, and decided to sit down and have some breakfast. It was about 9 o'clock, I think, at that point, and made up a mountain house and sat there, had some breakfast, and was just waiting. And I'd heard a bugle down below me, just a real faint bugle, and I thought, well, there's a water hole, a spring down below. I was going to go down and check it out. So got all my stuff all packed back up. I was literally reaching down just to grab my pack to throw it on and start working down. And I looked across the timber about 60 yards, and she was coming up from down below me. The wind was perfect. The wind was kind of coming towards me and uphill, and she had no idea I was there. So I hit the dirt, kind of got on my knees next to my pack. I'd already had an arrow knocked, and grabbed my bow. She took about 3 more steps, and she must have caught my movement or something, and she stopped at about, I think it was 55 yards for a long time. So I sat there, and all my weight was on my back foot. My back foot was curled, and it was starting to cramp. So I just kind of toughed it out and waited till she moved a little bit. She came into about 40 yards, again stopped, and she's just eyeballing me through the timber. She's seen movement, so she was watching me. I just froze, didn't move, and then finally she started moving again, and I had a window at 20 yards that she was going to walk right through. It was going to be a perfect 20-yard shot,
and she got behind the trees right before that. I drew back, and of course she stops right behind those trees. She couldn't see me at all. I couldn't see her head at that point, but she'd stopped at about 30 yards and waited and I don't know, held my draw for a couple minutes. I'm not sure how long. I had my camera going, so I might have caught some of it on film. You probably can't see her because it was so thick. And finally she decided she wasn't going to come forward anymore. She started stepping backwards, and I had a little window behind her that if she stepped in, I had a shot there too. So I leaned back, she was in that window, and I shot, and my arrow hit the tree on the right side of that window. I actually went and found where the broadhead had sliced just the edge of that tree, and then it got my arrow flying funny and it hit another tree and broke. I got some pictures and some video. That broadhead actually hit the next tree and stuck in it sideways. The arrow shaft was broke. I found most of the arrow shaft, but and then pulled that broadhead out of the tree. So anyway, she ran off after I missed that arrow and stopped at about 20 yards outside of that, or she ran about 20 yards and stopped. And I thought, well, shoot, maybe I'll get another chance at her. And she was really wanting to come across this hillside. So I knocked another arrow, and I stepped forward about 15 yards, and to where I could see her uphill a little way. She was right at about 60 yards, and I was just stopped and waited for her. I had no shot. She was in some really thick stuff. And I knew she wanted to come across, so I looked up and I found a window. It was about 25 to 30 yards shot, a big wide open window. And after a few minutes, had the camera rolling the whole time, but after a few minutes she eventually started coming up. Well, she ended up going up a little bit higher, and she crossed right at about 50 yards is what I figured her, and that's what I held for, was 50. And I thought I was holding back farther, but obviously I hit her farther forward in the shoulder. But when she came through a little window. Yeah, I'm pretty jacked. Got some meat to get in the freezer. This was kind of my goal this year, was just to get an elk killed with my bow. So clearly happy, and then focus on helping my wife get a couple of elk killed. She's got a special permit for a bull tag in Montana here, and she's got a cow tag for this area, so she'll be able to hunt rifle for cows in this area. So, and then my son's got a deer tag too, so I want to kind of just focus on helping them get things killed this year. So I'm happy with getting a mature cow. It's going to be some good meat. So thanks for watching. I'm going to get to work.
Well, I got that cow all cut up in game bags down there. I got 4 quarters and a game bag of loose meat, and I've got the hide too. I'm going to carry out. I tried to keep that together, so the rest of it, the remains of it over here. Got all my other stuff scattered here, so time to have a little snack and then get my pack loaded up. It's getting warm though now, so I'm going to move the meat a little bit farther down the hill away from this gut pile, just in case. There are some bears in this area too, so I'd rather keep the meat a little bit farther away from the guts if I can. So I'll take them down the hill a little ways and find a shady spot, maybe some logs that I can lay them across like that so they can keep cooling. So let's see if I can get this thing hoisted without breaking my bow. Well, I got the first load down to the trailhead here. I think I can get my truck right to this trail. It's an old logging road. I'm gonna walk it down to my truck. My truck's about half a mile and maybe a little bit farther. I'm gonna see if there's any down trees or anything. It looks pretty clear, so I think I could probably just drive right in here and get turned around. But just pulled the meat out of my bag so I can cool a little bit. Cruise to the truck.